Welcome to our leadership series number 2, Adapting Your Leadership Style. So in leadership series number 1, we looked at your mindset. Now we want to look at how we're going to adapt your style and why is this so important? Well, we all know that people respond differently to different styles of management. And we all know that an engaged team is a more productive team. But maybe we're not as familiar with the stats as we should be. And so I've got some really interesting stats that I'd like to read to you that I got from the Institute of Managers and Leaders. Did you know that managers can account for as much as 70% of the variance in employee engagement? Employees who are supervised by highly engaged managers are 59% more likely to be engaged by those supervised by actively disengaged managers. And the most important stat for me is 1 in 2 employees have left a job to get away from their manager at some point in their career. So why is that? They're not leaving the company, they're not leaving the job, they're leaving the manager, which means that their working relationship with the manager is not working for them. And often we talk about personality clashes. What it actually means is that we as leaders are potentially not adapting our style to get the best outcome from that person. Now, I want to just introduce these 2 concepts. One of my most favorite people that I follow is Simon Sinek. Now, he is in my list of favorite resources, which you will be able to access on my website. His most famous TED Talks start with why. He talks about the fact that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. What is your motivation as a leader? What are you hoping to achieve as a leader? What is your purpose? What drives you? Are you really driven by wanting to get the best out of your people for their sake? Or is it about your aspirations and what you're trying to do within your career? So he talks about the fact that we can either inspire people or we can manipulate people. Now I want us just to look at those 2 concepts. What are we doing when we inspire people? And what are we doing when we manipulate people? My personal opinion is that when we inspire people, we want to get the best out of them for their sake, for the team's sake, for the business sake, so that we have a win-win outcome. It's a longer-term, more sustainable motivation. When we manipulate, we get short-term outcomes, short-term results. We've all had that feeling where we've purchased a product and then had buyer's remorse because we were manipulated by the salesperson. So when we manipulate, it's more a selfish agenda of what I stand to gain by getting this person to agree with me or do it my way. So I really want us to think now, when we adapt our leadership style, we want to be thinking about how do I inspire people? How do I sell the why we need to do it, why it's important? Am I being transparent about the purpose and the outcome? And am I also doing it in a way that speaks their language? Does it resonate with them? So something I'm going to talk a great deal about is the WIFM factor. The WIFM factor. So anyone want to have a guess what the WIFM factor stands for? What's in it for me? What's in it for me? Now, I am quite a cynical person, I suppose you could say. And I have a theory based on nothing. I've sucked it right out of my thumb. That most people, unless they're Mother Teresa, will always respond to any instruction, delegation, request from a place of, well, what's in it for me? Why should I do that? How will I benefit? What is in it for me? So when we as leaders engage with our team, we want to think, how am I going to deliver this in a way that they see the benefit to them? They see the WIFM factor. And that is all going to be in the way we deliver the message. Are we communicating in a language that resonates with their personality, their style, so that they see it as an opportunity rather than a threat? So before we get into that, we obviously need to have some self-awareness. We need to be aware of how we're coming across. Are we coming across to someone as intimidating, overwhelming? Are we coming across to someone as detailed, boring, and doing too much analyzing and not just getting the job done? Are we coming across to people as faffy, wishy-washy, all over the place? Have we a self-awareness around how we are communicating, how we are delivering our message, how people are receiving us? Because that is going to indicate whether they're going to respond from a place of, this is a good conversation, this is a helpful conversation, I want to engage in this conversation, or no, I don't like this, I don't want anything to do with it. So there's a great little YouTube clip which is in my favorite resources, which I will share with you. It's also embedded into my PowerPoints, and if you'd like to get the PowerPoints, just flick me an email. The little YouTube clip is from Harry Kramer. It's called From Values to Action, and it's about 4 principles of leadership. But the first principle is the one that I really want to hone in on. And the questions he asks is, do I know myself? Do I know myself? And then he makes this really powerful statement. If I do not know myself, I cannot lead myself. And if I cannot lead myself, I cannot lead others. So why is that so important? Because if I'm unaware that I'm coming across to people in my team as either too dogmatic, or maybe too detailed, or misunderstanding the point, or overwhelming, and I'm totally unaware of it, and I then go to give them feedback on what they should be doing differently, their internal narrative is going to be, why should I listen to you? You don't even know how to manage yourself. You don't even know how to adapt your communication style, and you're now trying to give me feedback on my weaknesses when you're not even aware of your own. So it's got to start with the journey of self-awareness. Do I know myself? Do I know my communication style? Do I know my leadership style? Is it working for me? So the first question is, do we know when to lead, and do we know when to manage? So what's the difference? When do I lead? When do I manage? So what is the definition of a leader? Personally, I believe the definition of a leader is to facilitate optimum results out of his or her team to deliver a common outcome. So when you're leading, you're facilitating, you're not instructing. You are facilitating optimum results, not mediocre results, towards a common goal, towards a common outcome. But there are going to be times when you need to manage. So what are we doing when we manage? When we're managing, we're allocating resources, we're making decisions, we're writing down timelines, we are indicating deadlines, we're holding people accountable to those deadlines, we're setting up schedules. So you can see that sometimes I need to be wearing my leadership hat, and sometimes I need to be wearing my management hat. So if we can adapt our leadership style, we really need to be aware of, when do I lead and when do I manage? So I want you to think about it using this analogy. If I was a photographer, I'd have a camera that would maybe have a wide angle lens that I'd zoom out and I'd look at the big picture and go, right, this is the big picture. What do we need to be doing in the next 6 months, the next 6 years? Where are we heading? What are the strategies we need to put in place? But then I'd zoom in and I'd look at it in really micro detail and say, what's happening on the ground right now? What do I need to be aware of? What decisions do I need to be making right now? What resources do I need to allocate right now? And I've got to be zooming out and zooming in all the time. The trick is knowing, when do I lead and when do I manage? When do I inspire? When do I influence people towards a greater goal? When do I jump into the nitty-gritty and talk about delegation and resource management and allocation and skills and jobs? So that's the first thing around adapting our leadership style. When am I leading? When am I managing? Do I need to be managing more or less? Do I need to be leading more or less? What skill is required for what situation? The next thing we want to be aware of is, what makes my team tick? And is my leadership style working for everyone in my team? So we can't have a one-size-fits-all and say, well, this is how I lead, take it or leave it, love me, hate me, this is the way I manage my team. Because then we're going to have those people that say, I don't like the way you manage me, I'm out of here. So we've got to be saying to ourselves, well, who do I have in my team? What bird do I have in my team? Do I have an owl, peacock, dove, eagle? Who's in my team? And what language do I need to be speaking to them to get the best out of them? So let me pose this question to you. If you went on business to Germany and you could speak fluent German, would that help you have a more successful conversation with your business partner in Germany? Of course. Let's say you had to go and have a business interaction with a client in Japan. Would it help you if you could speak fluent Japanese? Of course. Let's say you had to go and have a meeting in Spain. Would it help if you could speak fluent Spanish? Absolutely. And finally, let's say you had to have a business meeting in Malaysia. Would it help you if you could speak their language? Absolutely. So what am I putting on the table here? It's not about changing who you are. It's not about being fake. It's not about being manipulative. It's simply choosing to speak a language that the person you're interacting with will resonate with and understand. So to do that, let's have a little look at our DISC profile. So you will see up on the screen the DISC quadrants. Some of you may or may not be familiar with the DISC personality profile. If you like, you can Google DISC personality profile. You will get heaps of information on it. What I have done in my coaching tools is supplied you with some great information on the 4 different profiles. But what I am going to do with you now is I'm just going to help you unpack those 4 profiles so that we very quickly can become almost a crime scene investigator as a leader, where we can quickly read who's in our team and what profile they are so that we can adapt our response. So first thing is to have a look at it in terms of 4 quadrants. So the DISC profile fits into 4 quadrants. The top 2 quadrants are extroverts. So the D standing for dominant and the I standing for influencer are extroverts. The bottom 2 quadrants, S standing for steadiness and C standing for conscientiousness. Now these 2 are introverts. So the first question we want to ask ourselves as a leader, is this person I'm dealing with more of an extrovert or more of an introvert? What's the difference? What's the essential difference between these 2? The extroverts need to energize with others. The introverts need to energize alone. The extroverts talk to think. The introverts think to talk. So the extroverts are going to go, oh my God, I've got a really good idea. I can't wait to tell you about it. You know what we're going to do? Oh, no, we're not going to do that anymore. This is what we're going to do. And the poor introvert is staring at them blankly and going, sorry, are we doing this? Are we doing that? I can't keep up. Not realizing that this extrovert is just having a brainstorming session with themselves out loud. The extrovert, in the meantime, is looking at the introvert and they're not getting anything back. So the extrovert tells himself a story. Is this person listening to me? Are they a bit slow? Are they a bit stupid? They're not saying anything. Meanwhile, the poor introvert is just simply processing, thinking before they talk. So now we can say, right, is this person in my team more of an extrovert, more of an introvert? The next 2 little criteria we want to look at to help us define where they sit is, are they more people-focused or are they more task-focused? So what language would you hear coming from task-focused people? How would you know that people in your team are more task-focused than people-focused? If they're more task-focused, they're going to be saying things like, well, what's the policy for that? Where's the procedure for that? What's the timeline on that? What outcome are we looking for? What's the deadline? Well, how are we going to schedule that? Well, what resources do we have to do that? Well, what return on investment are we going to get for that? The people-focused people are going to say, well, what is that impact going to have on our teams? How will it impact morale? How will it impact fatigue? How will it impact their ability to do the job? How will it impact camaraderie between the teams? What have we put in place to support our team to be able to deliver on that deadline? So you can immediately start to see, more task-focused or more people-focused. And once we've done that, we now can say, right, You appear to be more of a D, dominant, or as I like to call you, an eagle. Or actually, you're extroverted and people-focused, so you're more of a peacock, in disc language, an influencer. Or you're actually people-focused and introverted, so you are a dove, or in the disc profile, steadiness. Or actually, you're an owl because you're task-focused and introverted, so you're a C, conscientious, in the disc profile. And now I've got somewhat of an understanding as to where you fit in this profile. Now, does that mean that you just stick in that one little box and that's all you are? No, of course not. If you do a disc profile, you'll get a circle and you will get a little dot where you sit. So my dot sits here, high peacock, bordering into some eagle. So I'll be picking up eagle behavior, but demonstrating a lot of peacock as well. So your dot will indicate some other aspects of your bird type as well. Now, what are we going to do with this information? That's more to the point. What are we going to do with this information? I am going to suggest that you do a little diagnostic tool called What is My Leadership Style? It's an HRDQ brand, What is My Leadership Style? You can order it online. They are very affordable. It's something like $25. You can do it online or you can get the hard copy. And when you do the self-assessment on your leadership style, you will then come out either as a direct leader, so a direct leadership style, or you'll come out with a bent towards more of a spirited leadership style, or you'll come up with more of a considerate leadership style, or with more of a systematic leadership style. Now, you can immediately see when you hear that language that if you're an eagle, more than likely, your style is going to be direct. If you are a peacock, more than likely your leadership style is going to be spirited. If you are a dove, more than likely your leadership style is going to be considerate. And if you are an owl, your leadership style is more than likely going to be systematic. Now, why does this have such an impact on your team? So I'm going to play this out for you. I am a peacock, which means my leadership style is going to be spirited. So the peacock is the visionary. The peacock is the person that sees the big picture. The peacock is the one that wants to motivate people and inspire people and take them on the journey. The peacock is the one that wants to jump off cliffs and just not know where the end result is, but let's give it a bash anyway. So like the Richard Bransons of the world, they'd have a spirited leadership style. Now let's say I'm not going to adapt my style to my team, but I happen to have an owl in my team. And I go running off to my owl and I say, hey, I'm so excited. I've got this great idea. I want you just to experiment with it. I want you to have fun. Let's just see what happens. No one's ever done it before. It could put us on the front page of the Courier Mail. And my owl, who's very introverted and task-focused, starts asking questions like, well, has anything like this been done before? Is there a process for this? Is there a procedure for it? How are we going to measure it? What are the resources? How are we going to break this down? And I just go back into full-on peacock mode and go, oh, stop throwing rocks in the road. I thought you'd be excited. Let's just have some fun. Why do you always have to be so negative about everything? Can you just hear the story I've told myself? I've just told a massive story about this owl, that they're negative, they throw rocks in the road, simply because they are a different bird to me. So if I'm going to adapt my leadership style, I've got to step back and go, what's important to the owl? What is their WIFM factor? So I'm going to tell you what it is. The WIFM factor for the owl is certainty. Certainty is very important to the owl. The other very important factor for the owl is accuracy. They want to know that it's going to be high quality and accurate. They want to know what the predictable outcomes are going to be. So when I now go to manage an owl, I need to say my spirited leadership style is not going to work. I need to take my spirited hat off. I need to pluck out my peacock feathers. I need to put some owl feathers in. I need to hone my systematic leadership style and adapt the way I'm going to have this conversation so that I trigger a helpful, not harmful response. So I'm now going to say, hey, Mr. Owl, I've got a project I'd like us to work on. I'd like us to sit down and nut it out. I want to talk about the outcome we'd like to achieve. I'd like to talk about what resources you would need. I'd like to break it down into bite-sized chunks. I want to talk about what support or help we need to put in place, what measurables we need to put in place to track we're okay. And I want to just analyze the best method for you. When you've had some time to process it and think about it, let's set up a meeting where you can come back to me with all your questions and we can work through this step by step. And immediately my owl goes, oh, this is a helpful conversation. I'm enjoying this conversation. And I get a much better response. And instead of going away and saying, oh, this person's so negative, they just throw rocks in the road, I go, oh, wow, this person was so collaborative. They were so helpful. But the only thing that changed was me. I changed my leadership style. I adapted my style to the bird that I was dealing with. So on my website, in my favorite resources, I'm going to give you some access to some little videos you can go and watch that will give you an indication of how to talk to different birds. I'm also going to give you a little handout on each of the 4 birds. So each of the handouts has got a whole list of characteristics of what defines that bird. And I'm also going to give you some strategies on how you can adapt your style to that particular bird. So in the PowerPoints, I've given you some short little quick snappy bullet points on how you potentially could be adapting your style to each of the 4 different birds. So if you email me, I'll flick those PowerPoints to you. But in a nutshell, let's just have a very quick think about this. The eagle. The Whiffen factor for the eagle is they want autonomy. They want results. They want control. So if they want control, autonomy, and results, they want things to be quick. They want things to happen. They don't want to muck about. When I communicate with my eagle, I need to make sure I've got the facts and the figures. I need to make sure my pace is quick. I need to get to the point. I can't walk in there and start talking feelings and opinions like, oh, I'm so concerned. You know, my team's morale is just so down at the moment. I just wondered what, we could do about it. An eagle will just actually have a heart attack if you talk to them like that. We've got to walk in and say, I know how important it is we deliver on this result. I know we have to deliver this project on time and in budget. I'd like to talk to you about how we can motivate my team. So what is the Whiffen? They want things to be quick, on time, in budget. They want results. They want you to get to the point. They don't want to talk about small talk. What did you do on the weekend? Not interested. Why are you in my office? How long is this going to take? Always think about how it's going to impact on their KPIs, how it's going to help them deliver their KPIs. If we're now talking to the peacock, peacocks want stories. Peacocks don't just want facts and figures. Peacocks want the anecdotes. They want the case studies. They want the testimonials. They want the interesting stories. The peacocks want to jump from topic to topic, so we've got to be able to bring them in, but they also want us to listen and engage with them. The peacocks also want to see the big picture, and they want to see how it's going to impact on their profile, because the Whiffen for the peacock is their reputation. The Whiffen for the peacock is recognition, their profile. So we always want to be talking about how this is going to up their profile, their recognition, get them validation, get them some positive feedback. And then when we're talking to our dove, remember the Whiffen for the dove is all about belonging. It's all about being connected. So when we're talking to the dove, we want to make sure that whatever we introduce to them, they see it from the perspective of it's going to build team morale, it's going to help the team, it's going to have an impact to the business, it's going to help our customers. That's what the dove wants to hear. So I'm going to adapt my style, slow my pace, make my voice a little bit more gentle, use a lot of pause, give time to hear their answers, give them time to deliberate. And finally, our dear old owl, again, I mentioned we've got to make sure it's precise, give them time to process, give them time to analyze, give them time to think it through, slow your pace down. So the final 3 questions that I would like to ask you once you've done some analysis around this is, number 1, is my behavior working for me? Meaning, is my leadership style working for me? Am I triggering a threat response or an opportunity response? The second question I'd like you to ask is, why are they behaving that way? Am I telling myself a story? So am I dealing with an owl who's diligent and needs to think and process and analyze? And am I just telling myself a story and going, oh, they're so slow, they analysis paralysis, they're such a procrastinator, they can never make a decision? Am I telling myself a story about them? Or do I stop and go, why are they behaving that way? Ah, they're an owl. That's making a lot of sense. What would be the best way for me to adapt my leadership style to get the best outcome from this owl? So I'm going to wrap this up by drawing you a little picture of a brain. And why I'm drawing this little picture for you is because I've been mentioning triggering a threat or opportunity response. And I want to just unpack that for you so you know what I'm talking about. So every single piece of information that we receive through the emotional brain first. So as a leader, I need to be adapting my leadership style so that when they process this information, they process it as an opportunity and not a threat. Now, I just want you to take note of my magnificent work of art. This is an absolutely anatomically correct picture of the brain. So, every piece of information that we process will go through the emotional brain first. The correct terminology for it is our limbic brain. And in the PowerPoints, I've put together a very scientific drawing with all the right language for you to have a look at. This is just simply so we can unpack it as we go along. In the limbic brain, we have another part of the brain known as the amygdala. The way I remember it is Amy, the girl's name, Amy, Ga for God, Ga, and then Dala, D-A-L-A, amygdala. So here is the event. I process the event through my limbic brain. The limbic brain or the amygdala decides, is this helpful or is this harmful to me? Or other language you can use, is this an opportunity for me or is this a threat to me? Now, if my emotional brain decides that it is a threat to me, harmful to me, my rational brain, my prefrontal cortex, actually disengages, which impacts my decision making and it impacts the actions that I take, which means that the person I'm talking to has a highly emotional reaction. They will have what is known as a threat response, and they will either go into silence or they will go into violence. So what does silence look like? Silence is where they just disengage, stop asking questions, don't contribute to the meeting. and they go into what I refer to as compliance. Violence is where they go, that's ridiculous, that's so unfair, I can't believe you're making me do that. So when we see signs of silence or violence, we know that our leadership style means that we've delivered the message in such a way that the emotional brain has seen it as a harmful conversation, not a helpful conversation. So it could be, like I suggested before, I'm a peacock, I go rushing in, oh, I've got such a great idea, I'm talking to my owl, let's have fun with this, let's experiment, and I don't give any details or any processes or systems. The owl's emotional brain goes, oh my God, I can't cope with this, I'm out of my depth, and immediately the emotional brain processes as a threat, and the owl will more than likely go into silence. And they will start to withdraw, disengage, not contribute. And I then tell myself a story and go, oh, you see, they're just not a team player. They're so negative. They're not a collaborator. They don't want to help us. Not realizing it all started with me not being able to adapt my leadership style to that particular personality profile. So in summary, what I want you to think about is, what bird are you dealing with? Are they more extrovert or introvert? Are they more task-focused? Are they more people-focused? That will help us identify, is it an eagle? Is it a dove? Is it an owl? Is it a peacock? What is my natural leadership style? Am I more spirited? Am I more systematic? Am I more direct? Am I more considerate? Which style do I need right now to deal with this bird? And if my natural style is not a good style for that bird, how am I going to tweak it? How am I going to adapt it? How am I going to pluck out my peacock feathers and maybe put in some owl feathers so that when I talk to this person, I'm talking their language and they go, ah, this is going to be a helpful conversation. I want to have this conversation. And we then get the collaboration and the input that we require. So let's summarize this all up again. Why is that person behaving the way they are? Am I telling myself a fact or a story? Is that story healthy, helpful, and productive? Or have I thought, what bird am I dealing with? And very importantly, is my behavior working for me? So is my leadership style actually working for this particular team member in terms of wanting to get commitment rather than compliance? So please write those two words down. If we don't adapt our leadership style, we're simply going to get compliance. Compliance is, yes, sure, you're the boss, whatever. They will work to rule, they will not go above and beyond. But if we adapt our leadership style, understand their within factors, understand what drives them, understand what motivates them, understand what's important to them, we will then get commitment. And commitment is where they go above and beyond. So hold on to that. Do I want commitment or do I want compliance? Is my leadership style working? If not, how can I adapt it? So my coaching questions for you. What is my why? Why do I do what I do? Why do I lead this team? What are my motives for being in leadership? Have I shared with my team what my goal is as a leader for them? Do they really understand why I do what I do? Can they trust that? Can they believe in that? Can they be motivated and inspired by that? Do I really know myself? Do I know my strengths? Do I know my weaknesses? Do I have insights as to when my communication style is not working for me, when my delivery is not working for me? Have I really thought about when I need to manage and when I need to lead? Should I be leading more or leading less? Should I be managing more or managing less? And have I really sat down to think about, how does my team tick? What bird are they? Are they an eagle, dove, owl, peacock? What's important to them? Am I delivering my message in a way that works for them? Am I adapting my leadership style that's going to ensure a win-win outcome? So if you have a look at the final slide, you will see the supporting tools available to you. You've got the coaching tools, which will give you a little rundown on each of the 4 birds. I'm also going to suggest that you look at the HRDQ, what is my leadership style diagnostic tool. You will also see there my favorite resources, which will be listed there with a really good resource such as Crucial Conversations, which I'm going to suggest you read. And finally, if you'd like access to my PowerPoints, please just send me an email and I'll get them out to you. If this has whet your appetite and you would really like some one-on-one coaching specific to your team's situation around adapting your leadership style, we can set that up on any remote platform that works for you. So until next time, remember, be bold, be curious.